Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury.
Let's bring in Ryan Snyder, On3.com, Blue White Illustrated. Sir, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
Busy week, Steve. Told you last time we talked. This is the week to chat. So
this is the
Yep. Yeah, good week to reach out.
Yeah. So here we go. Every guy comes to the quarterback club, and they always get asked either by me or by whomever. And usually I'm just asking now because the crowd's going to ask anyway. What were some of the influences that got you to Penn State? Okay. And they'll list a bunch of things, right? But a constant one is, and then I went to the whiteout game. So
yeah.
What's it look like in terms of attendance this time?
Looks really, really deep. I'm at 92 players at the moment. I know it's going to be probably closer to 130, 140. I mean, at times we've seen 170 or so. Now the staff has learned that there really is too much. You can't have too many, I guess you would say. So they've tried to, in recent years, cut it back a little bit and really make sure it's top, quality guys. So I have 92 prospects at the moment that Sean and I have worked on. And out of those players, about 60 of them hold scholarship offers. And that's, of course, including some of the committed players. So, man, that's an incredibly impressive list. I mean, we always put these lists together. And, of course, you're always going to see a handful of guys not end up making it. But, if there are truly 60, a little over 60 scholarship guys in attendance, it would probably be the deepest whiteout list we've ever seen. So let's see who shows up. If the weather looks perfect,
which it is,
right.
Yeah.
You got the night game, which you need is to get people to State College, of course, and so everything is in Penn State's favor for this to be one of the deepest recruiting lists we've ever seen.
How many different years are going to be represented among those 130 you're talking about? But 92 to 130 you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so I have 2026 guys. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a 2027 somewhere out there that I learned about on Sunday. That usually happens. Sean and I will be going through pictures and stuff, and I'll send it over to him, and we'll start searching, and we'll learn that he's actually an 8th grader. So I've seen that before. But right now I have two 2026 guys. And, these are obviously way down the road. They're just freshmen in high school now. But two names for people to remember. Messiah Mickens. He plays at Trinity High School down here in Camp Hill. I'm actually going to see him play tonight. They play Steel High. Messiah has a Texas A&M offer already. And then Marquise Wimberly, too, a really good running back out of Parkland. No offers yet for Marquez, but I know he went out to Oregon in the summer and put up some really good track numbers. I mean, whenever you're going out there to Eugene for those national Nike competitions, you're a very special athlete. So, with everybody from 2026, 2025, 2024, and, of course, 2023 is the current class. I mean, I would say that the 2024 is going to be the massive bulk of this list. I mean, I would say probably 60% will just be in that class, with the other three classes making up the other 40.
Who is the recruiter in the 23 group that will be signing in December?
The recruiter will be signing?
Yeah, who are the recruiters? In other words, the players that will get on social media or text or do whatever and say, hey, look, join me, be a part of the group.
That's a good question. So basically what you're asking is who are like the best recruiters in this class?
Yeah, no, I mean, who are the guys, like Brenneman was, like Hackenberg was? I mean, I don't know.
Just making sure we're on the same page there.
No. I want to make sure I clarify the question.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting group because I always get asked about Brenneman and Hackenberg, and they're always they got to be on a different level because of the circumstances at the time, right? I mean, it was toxic. There's never any, I'll never ever compare guys to those two. But a couple guys that really stand out in this class to me, I have to start with Alex Birchmeyer. Not only was he the first guy to commit in this class, but look at this offensive line class. You have Anthony Donko, you have Javen Williams. Of course, you have Cooper Cousins, 2024. I mean, it's a really strong class, and Alex Birchmeier was a massive reason for that. So I always have to point to Birchmeier as somebody who really stands out a lot. Joey Schlafler and Andrew Rappelier too, and they're two tight ends, but they're like really social guys, right? Like, I mean, both of them are. I would say Joey's a little more active on social media, but when you get to know them, just great personalities, guys that everybody wants to hang out with and get to know. I feel like those two have, really done a good job recruiting as well. I'd be remiss to not think of Matthias Barnwell, who, of course, was one of the first to commit. Matthias was actually, at one point, the youngest player to ever commit to Penn State football.
Right.
He stepped away from it then and took some time to look things over and then, of course, recommitted. But, Matthias has been blue and white for, 2-3 years now, it feels like. So he's an excellent recruiter. Really, that Virginia area. Tony Rojas is a great personality as well.
Yeah.
I mentioned Birchmeier. Donko is a guy who has gotten older or been committed longer, talking to more and more guys. So it really is a mixed group. I wouldn't say there's like one or two guys I really point to this year. If I had to really pick one, I'd probably lean towards Birchmeier just because he was the first one that really got it going. And he's been doing it for like a year and a half now. I mean, it's wild to think back on that.
Running backs, and I brought this up the last time because of the circumstances, not because of the player. The player is terrific, but we know what the circumstances are. What about running backs immediately in the 23 class, and what about 24?
Yeah, so right now in 2023, I'm mainly looking at Chris Johnson in Miami. I really feel like he is, without a doubt, Penn State's top target there out of Dillard High School. It's just going to be hard to get him on campus. I think that's really where the staff's kind of. I mean, if they can get him up for an official visit, I feel like that's their main chance there. But when I just look at some of the other schools that are involved, it's going to be hard there with Chris. So we'll see. They did just hand out a recent running back offer not too long ago. I'm trying to remember the name, Steve. I'm struggling off the top of my head to remember the name. I think it was Cameron Wallace, I want to say. I'm struggling to remember where he's from. I think it was from Georgia, Montgomery, Georgia. I'm trying to pull it up on my computer quick. But I've been trying to get in touch with Cam. Obviously, you guys can't tell. I've been struggling to get in touch with this kid. But he was offered about a week ago. Right. I don't really know a ton. There's an Indiana offer. I remember Georgia Tech, a couple other smaller Power Fives. But
any of these
to be
any running backs coming in this weekend?
Oh yeah, there will definitely be a couple to keep an eye on this weekend. I mean, when I really look up and down the list, I really like Sam Williams-Dixon from Ohio, and like so many others that end up at Penn State, he camped with the staff this year. So they have really good information as far as the kind of athlete that he is. And he just seems to have really strong interest in Penn State too. A good offer list. I wouldn't say it's in a deep elite one yet. But he's all signs are pointing to him being a high 3-star, low 4-star kind of guy. Right now we have him as a 3-star, but his stock is certainly on the rise. Just from watching him this year, he's got a Tennessee offer, Kentucky, Pitt, a couple other quality schools. I think Iowa State was another one that stood out to me, just when I was talking to him recently. But other guys to note, I mean, Sam's the main one for this weekend. DeJuan Williams from St. Francis will be up. We'll see. I'm trying to get a better feel for that. And then Daniel Coles as well from Stafford, Virginia. Another guy that, I think this season, the film that comes back this season will give us a better feel for where they're at on the board. But Williams-Dixon, because he camped and because of some of the interest, seems just to be a little higher on the board. I will mention that John Forster and Jabri Wallace-Coleman are two really good 2025 running backs. Wallace-Coleman's actually already committed to Georgia. He plays at Ematep in Philly. Those are two other guys that will be here this weekend, but they're 2025, so a couple of years down the road.
Right, exactly. How are things looking of an upper 4-star, upper 5-star guys coming, or 5-star guys coming in?
Oh, it's deep. I mean, it's a lot of upper 4-stars. The one 5-star right now we know for sure is Ellis Robinson. He's he's from Connecticut, but he's down playing at IMG Academy at the moment. So, it's always like that gift and the curse of guys from the Northeast going to IMG, right? Like they're going to get good competition, they're going to progress, but they're also going to have a reason for Alabama to be knocking on the door and recruiting them pretty hard. So, but getting him back is massive because he hasn't been here for almost a year, right? I mean, he went down to IMG last year and hasn't visited since. So, getting him back is really, really important. I think actually last year his visit was for the Illinois game, which was 10-23, and of course this game will be 10-22. So, like, it's literally a year since he's been here. Some other guys that stand out. Ernest Willer's another prospect from IMG Academy. From Baltimore, we have him as a defensive end. A guy that I think Penn State should be a top 5 or so prospect with. Just, whether they're going to be 1 or 2, I still kind of need to learn a little bit more, but we'll see. I'm trying to think of some other guys. Brady Priestcorn is, I think, Penn State's top tight end prospect out of Michigan. This will be like his 3rd or 4th visit to Penn State overall. So he's another pretty important guy for Ty Howe and the gang there. But I would say right now, when I was going through the list earlier, I'm trying to remember the numbers. I think it was about a dozen or so top 150 guys, I believe is what the number was. And then when you go to top 200, it was a little over that. I think it was like 16, 17, something like that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there should be around 24 top 300 prospects that make up this list.
Wow. Okay. Quarterbacks. People aren't thinking so much about quarterback because of the obvious ones that are on the roster right now, but because we're talking about guys in 24 and 25 and maybe somebody into 26. What does that look like?
Yeah. So Penn State was hoping to get Jaden Davis on campus. He's pretty much their top 2024. He's not going to be able to make it, though. So he plays in Charlotte, lives in Charlotte. They're playing a game in Georgia this weekend. So with it being out of state, they were trying to make it work where he could fly out of Atlanta then and come up here. But just talking to his dad actually just like an hour or two ago, they weren't able to make that work. So that hurts a little bit. The family should be back here at some point. They visited a couple times. Do I think Jaden Davis is going to end up at Penn State? Honestly, I probably don't. I think they're fringe top 5 at the moment, probably a couple teams ahead of them. So we'll see what develops there. They are getting KJ Jackson back on campus, who's a very intriguing prospect out of Montgomery, Alabama. KJ was up here again in the summer. Again, another guy who camped, another guy who they have accurate numbers for and everything, and that's so important at every position. But actually getting to see guys throw at quarterback is all the more important. So be curious to see how KJ reacts to seeing the whiteout and where Penn State stands. If I had to make a pick for KJ, I do think Penn State would be his school. I just think there's a couple other guys like Jaden Bradford who probably won't be here this weekend, but he's been here a couple times as well, who are probably a little higher on the board at the moment. There is one other guy I have to mention for 2025, and that's Ryan Montgomery. His brother Luke is headed to Ohio State though, so I don't know how that's gonna play out in the end. But Ryan Montgomery's been here a couple times. His family's really high on Penn State. But in the end of the day, when your brother picks Ohio State, it's kind of hard to see little brother coming to Penn State.
Well, Nola's playing different teams. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's a little different.
That's a little different deal. Okay, I just want to make sure. Ryan, always a pleasure. A lot to sort out on a whiteout weekend when you're talking 92 to 130. It's a lot of organization for the staff, and it's a lot of work for you.
Yeah, and it's not even this weekend, too, man, with Ohio State next week.
Yep.
Boom, boom. I mean, these are 2 of the most important recruiting weekends of the year. I mean, really, they're really the most important 2 remaining. You may have a couple official visits at the end, but this is the big 2 weekends here to end 2022.
Ryan, thanks so much. Appreciate all the information.
Of course, Steve. We'll talk soon.